Today is Monday, July 19, 2004. This is a meeting of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners.
Positive.
What did they tell you?
Positive meeting?
I'll let him sign. I wasn't here.
Want to do that now?
Yeah, you know.
Are you on the record?
Probably should be.
Yeah, we can be on the record now. Go ahead.
Hello. Okay, Fred, John needs to speak to you for a moment.
What had JUB do is put
assume.
together a memorandum
Somebody named
that
John.
we will look to send off to
What's
the
that?
Bureau. It's a memorandum of understanding.
Right.
So we make sure that everything we got from the meeting is
The same thing you understand?
something they understand. To give you a little background, there was 4 issues that we got from this meeting with them. The important one was when they sent over Karen Honey to the meeting that we had, and she was stating their opposition to it. What we got from this meeting was that she was doing what William Gray, Bill Gray, had instructed her to do, and the basic premise of that action was just basically to stop everything because they felt that they weren't given an opportunity to any oversight of the project. So they wanted to stop everything so they could have an opportunity to slow everything down and all of a sudden become part of the process. There's some other things we thought we could put in here, but our intent of this letter to them isn't to make them mad. So we just kind of make them look bad, so we just went over. But I think the main thing that we got from this was they were given some misinformation by a private individual about
I think we know who that is.
about where we were actually at on this project. They felt that we were actually ready to build this right away, and they just wanted to stop it, to slow it down, so that they could catch their breath and
What was their, why, one way or the other, would they want it slowed down?
Well, to be honest with you, at a few points in time during the meeting, it was pretty much determined by Mr. Gray himself that there was some mistakes made on their side. They were basically telling us the things that they needed to see, and then we then produced them copies of those.
But they had already received it.
Whether they be letters or letters asking for response from themselves, and then William Gray would look at that and go, well, yes, this is
what we wanted.
This is what we wanted, and it appears that we got it. So they admitted to some mistakes on their end. They just didn't do their. We gave them the opportunity.
They were trying to get us to follow a process we were already following, as that basically.
Correct.
We didn't know it.
I spent a lot of time during this meeting trying to get a good understanding of how this process would be different than the process that we go through on every other project we do. And basically they told us that what I got from it was that the process we were taking was the correct process. So the failure was really on their end, and also the misinformation they got. Because William Gray goes, well, when is this going to be built? And I told Mr. Gray, I went through the whole history of the project and where we were at, how the money is federal money. It was diverted to do PK. I told him the commissioners heard the public loud and clear that they wanted PK. We diverted this federal money. Now we're basically waiting to save up some more money. I explained to him what kind of money, federal dollars we were dealing with, and now we have some money left over from phase 1 after we completed the first mile PK to actually go forward with the design and right away. And I said we could be looking realistically, best case scenario, should everybody agree and we get all the right of way next year to 3 years down the road. So that's when he realized that we weren't as far as what he had been told that we were. So the outcome was pretty good. We're just going
Well,
to
should
provide.
explain to him, too, in the process, the completion of this road allows us to build to different standards on the PK road, which I
Yes.
think is important.
Yes, and I informed them of that, and we talked about mutual benefit. Some of the things that they were saying, to be honest with you, is they were pointing out how this was a joint project, kind of a wildlife reserve area, although the maps that were sitting up in their own meeting, where we were meeting at in their own boardroom there,
Didn't reflect it.
did not reflect what they were telling us. They showed areas of wildlife habitat areas within Franklin County, within the Columbia Basin Project that were reserved for, but Smith Canyon was not one of them on the map that we were looking at. So we took from it that this is kind of just a joint pet project between the Bureau and the Irrigation District. The main thing is the main comment, and this is one that I got from Bill Gray, was because I said, because of the stance that was taken by both the Irrigation District and the Bureau, you guys stated you're opposed to a crossing. Now, is that true? And he made the statement, and that's in here, is that they're not necessarily opposed to the project, nor are they ready to authorize the crossing. So they're not telling us at this point, at least from the meeting, that no, there's no way that we're ever going to be able to cross Smith Canyon, nor are they willing to tell us that we can right now. They want to see all of the stuff that we've done to date, and they want to see some preliminary design, which we will get to them. So we're in the process of gathering all the documents and all the.
So we probably shouldn't have any difficulty then.
That's what he's.
The only difficulty I thought that we'd have at this point, and I brought this up to Mr. Gray, was that I was a little bit concerned that after Dan Hubbs from his office going and meeting with the Irrigation District and them taking a stance in a public setting, being opposed to the project, that it would be very difficult for us to continue our efforts with them for a completion of this project. Because I don't know about how the Irrigation District works, but if the commissioners tell us that they're opposed to a project, they'd be a little bit upset if our office was continuing to aid somebody else in going forward with the project. And he told us that we would just basically work through them on everything. When the time comes, they would then take that forward to the Irrigation District. So that we'll basically be working strictly through the Bureau now. We actually got all the information. They were kind of taken aback too, because we pointed out, we showed them all the information that Darvin Fales, the chief engineer with the Irrigation District, gave us. We actually even showed them where he actually selected his preferred route. And so they were, well, it looks like you guys did everything you were supposed to do.
So in a nutshell, we're going back to square one. We're getting them all the information, and biological assessment and all that stuff. We're getting that to them so they can start the review process
Correct.
over again. So I don't think we'll be forgotten this time.
So the air is getting clear. The air is
I
being
would
cleared.
doubt we had a problem, after you come back and redouble your steps on it.
Yeah.
Do you want a motion to have him send it? Okay, I move approval of sending a memorandum to William Gray from the Public Works Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have one of the copies? Thank you.
So are we going
We got a public hearing.
to have a public hearing for,
Want a copy of that?
and is that what this is?
Yes.
Okay, this resolution.
The location.
Excuse me, Bill. Would you pass those to George? Because I know he's looked for a doesn't have a copy. Would you just pass it? Just a minute.
Okay, we're here this morning for a public hearing regarding Dreamview Estates #1 franchise. With us this morning is Commissioner Brock Corcoran Miller, along with Mary Withers, clerk of the board, Kim Fife, our county engineer, and Fred Bowen, our administrator. We have our planners, Jared McPherson and Craig Wynn, and Matt Mahoney from the engineer's office, and members in the audience. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Tim.
We received a request to put in streetlights on our right-of-way. We advertise, if somebody else puts their own facility on it, or some kind of a utility on our right-of-way. Of course, a franchise, so we went ahead and advertised that in accordance with the law, and that's why we're here today. As I understand it, as part of the subdivision, the owner agreed to put in a streetlight system and had it all planned out as part of the plat. This would allow him to submit the drawings to us so he can finalize that system. And we're here today to find out whether there's anybody opposing that or whatever.
Okay, because there's nobody in the audience that I would recognize that would be opposed to this, I will dispense with asking that and ask anybody in the audience that's in favor of this proposal. You want to speak for it?
I'm in favor of it.
State your name.
Toby, or Rodney.
Okay. And with that, I won't ask for any more comments from the audience unless you'd like to. No. Okay. Commissioners?
I have no questions.
What is the resolution number, Mary?
2004-340.
I move for the approval of resolution 2004-340 as specified.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll let Commissioner Corcoran stamp them.
Oh, well, let's just sign them and we'll stamp them
All right.
later. So I guess it's a go.
Would you bring me a pen? I don't have one. You're the culprit?
No, I've had two ever since,
I don't know why
I
I
thought
gave
you
it
stole
mine.
mine before.
I think I better check.
And so I,
Check my purse and see how many county pens I have in it.
While you're
I got one
signing
in
that,
Eva's. Thank you.
I'll and you something for our prosecutor as far as that. Do you remember the price of the outrigger? You
uh-huh.
and the agreement we were trying to get with them. This is a letter from our civil deputy, basically saying that, and he's right, that there needs to be some exchange of fee or in-kind service for that right to store their stuff out in our park area. I did some checking around for outdoor storage behind fences. If I was to store a vehicle or a motorhome or something like that in an outdoor storage in a typical place, for instance, in a Pasco auto repair and storage, it's $25 a month. I did talk to Gus Algier, who's the president of the association. He says $25, although they're a nonprofit, is something they can probably handle, but they would also like to, they don't have a problem setting it at $25, but they would also like to leave it open-ended to where they can do in-kind work. If there was something out there that we need done that would be of equivalent value, but then anything from $25 a month. So the question is should I get back to the prosecutor and tell them that's what the rate is, or? And that's based upon what it is in private enterprise right now. So actually, ours is a little better setting than where the other storages are, but I wouldn't quibble about that.
Is there any problem from our standpoint in providing the service to him?
Well, if you remember back when he came in, they've been doing it for years without an agreement, with an informal one with Ralph when he was out there. And they heard Ralph was leaving, and before Ralph left, they wanted to formalize that agreement. And they did before Ralph, they came in and made their presentation, you agreed to it. We've just been waiting for the agreement, and this has been what's holding it up. So they're still out there now. We haven't had any problems with it. Their actual canoe sits out along the beach where the public can actually vandalize it, and it hasn't been a problem either. So. What the storage part that is, if you remember, is their outriggers. They pull them off, and they're pretty fragile, I guess. And we actually put those in the yard. That's the storage part. So.
And we don't have any liability as far as damage.
That's what we want the agreement for, too, because it pretty well states that in the agreement.
No, I don't have
That would
any
spell all
problem.
that out.
I don't have a problem. Do you want to go ahead and?
I'll go ahead and contact me. $25 is acceptable as the
I move for
Better
approval.
than what we're getting now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Better than we're getting now, huh? Oh, sorry.
That's all right, we just won't let it happen again.
You know, Frank, this is July. I think for the last half of the year, that should be on this end of the table.
There we go.
It's only fair.
That's
Okay,
it for
so
me.
then we'll do it. Well, we need a motion for the vouchers.
Oh, that's right.
I move approval of the vouchers as specified.
Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it?
That is it.
Was anything done on this Rosie Ortega's contract?
Not yet.
Okay.
That I know of.
Send her a letter.
What's the letter say?
That's what I was wondering.
And so we asked them, according to the contract here, to verify the amount of work that they do, and they're supposed
Tell
to
that
be
kid to
monthly
keep
reports
his head down.
to the commissioners for review. I just asked for that information.
Okay. So we didn't give her a no at this point. Okay.
How big are those gonna get?
Oh, they're just right side.
Let me see. Let me see
He
those
said he
pictures.
thinks they have four
Where are my
fathers.
pictures?
Right there.
Where? Well, here they are.
I thought he was showing me pictures of his grandchildren. So. Anybody need a puppy?
No.
Frank has a lot of them.
Anybody who
Hi,
has
Riley.
anybody who has children,
Right, right.
anybody who has children would not be interested in providing them with a little pup. I just don't
Oh, my
understand.
gosh. I think he's really.
Sue, I found out
Oh,
on
my
the zoning,
goodness.
Did you?
that would not be allowed
Okay.
in that zone.
How big are they gonna get?
Thank you.
How big do you want them?
He thinks there's four fathers, so there's probably various
You know
sizes.
what, I think,
Twins, huh?
Oh, Sue, unless it's like a
I think I've got about 3 families.
UCB.
It could be a secondhand store. No pond.
Yeah.
No, they said no.
No. Yeah. That works for me.
Yeah. Works for me.
Oh, poor mama. Oh, my goodness. Well, they won't be too big with her.
But who knows what the guy
How many puppies you got left, Mr. Brock?
Well, I haven't gone international yet. I've kept it strictly domestic, East Coast, Midwest, and here locally. But
How many fish, or how many pups do you have left?
I may have 4.
Really? You may only have 4
I need
left,
to
huh?
talk to you though.
You better
Well,
keep them.
I'll call
I can't let them go.
That's
When you gonna be
why
out?
Splitting up a family.
Probably right about me.
well, I went
I'll call
to
you
town,
this
my
afternoon.
wife and I did, and picked up 4 cats.
Did you?
They're all gone.
Cats are.
Do you have coyotes out there?
Owls too. We have more trouble with owls picking them up. than we do.
Owls get your cats.
You know, they just come right out of the trees.
Swoop down and get them.
Okay, did we advertise this?
Pardon?
Did we advertise this for public hearing?
Yes.
I always
Oh,
provide my
I'm thinking of the other situation, the ordinance where we're gonna rescind.
dogs and dogs to play when they're little.
I'm too busy listening to you.
You're not paying any attention.
I'm sorry.
I said I always provided my children when they were little with a pet, but I mean, it's
He says Riley has a puppy.
Yeah. He's
He
8
does.
years old and
Yeah, I know how old his puppy is.
Okay, we're here for a public hearing, and there's no one in the audience. All the commissioners are present. Mary Withers, Greg Wendt, Jared McPherson,
With that guy.
Fred Bowen, administrator. So with that, we'll open it up to who?
I'll go ahead and kind of walk you through this one. Back in June, Jared and myself met with Ted Olson. He's with the Department of Ecology, and he also kind of works with FEMA. What I've handed out to you is a letter that after our meeting with the Department of Ecology and Ted, we kind of went over the National Flood Insurance Program that the county administers, our floodplain ordinance. We met and kind of, what it was they called it a community assistance visit. And within that, they're supposed to do this every few years with us to go over our floodplain regulations. They haven't been to Franklin County since 1982 to see how we're administering it, the program and whatnot.
well, they call it a community assistance visit, but it's really an audit.
Yeah, a periodic review or an audit to see how we administer the program, how we're doing it through a building permit, how we're keeping the books on it
This
and
is
everything.
Department of Ecology?
Yeah. And so, if you turn to the second page, we talked for a long time, but the question essentially came up was, were there any problems with how we're doing our floodplain management? And there weren't, but there was a problem with our regulations in terms of getting them updated. And so, this is kind of the end of the audit. If you turn to the very last page, just to kind of, there's a lot of summary and whatnot through here. But it says under 8 on the very last page, the community action needed is the county needed to update our ordinance, basically. On the
Well, what are they
second.
talking, I know, but
Okay.
they're talking about number 5 and 6. Is
All right.
that serious?
No, those are there's no problem.
Yes.
But they marked under no. They put the X's under no.
Oh, I see, okay.
So we talked and explained to him how we administered the program, and he was very happy with how we've been doing things. And we're pretty low on their radar screen because we don't have a lot of floodplain activity.
Did he say, well, we did not allow building on the floodplain,
Correct.
And we talked about, our FEMA data, our firm maps, our flood insurance rate maps, and how outdated they are. And he had some good suggestions on coordinating with him to get some updated information. We have the dikes and those sorts of things.
We have a big
so-
floodplain down in West Pasco that probably, from our understanding, shouldn't be a floodplain. And so we're working with him and the Corps to try to get that taken on FEMA's maps, which would be less of a burden for the folks out there.
And part of the problem with that particular one is some of it is right away.
Where's that at?
It comes up through Chiawana Park and on up past the Fire District 3's building up through there. Just kind of a channel going through.
Yeah, if you're driving on Court and you make that bend,
Yeah.
if you look off to the left towards the river, you'll see a big ditch as part of that old drainage.
And it actually continues across Court Street and kind of moves off out into what's still the county. So they're going to work with us on that. And at the end of the day, when we got all done, the only thing they finally found is that we just needed to update our ordinance. We have we have a 1987 ordinance, and then in 1988 we made an amendment to our ordinance, and those are the two that we've been utilizing. He basically said to combine those two documents and make the changes as described here at the end of his discussion. And they were all really minor things. There was nothing earth-shattering at all. Just a few things that have changed over the last decade that we just needed to tweak and update.
And overall, he was fairly pleased with how things were going, and how he was very comfortable with how we were administering the ordinance with Greg and Daryl and myself through the building.
Did they say anything about adjusting our floodplain to accommodate the building under construction?
I'm sorry, what now?
Adjusting the floodplain to accommodate a building under construction?
No, that wasn't really covered in our ordinance very well.
What's that?
I think
At Sanderson's.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
referring to Dreamview
Dreamview.
the Sisney
This is Niehaus. I don't think there's an ordinance could really cover that specifically. So,
Wouldn't surprise me.
But not over that.
No, but
so what we've done is we're repealing our original ordinance, our 1987 and 88 ordinances, and the county code chapter, and then making the changes that they wanted, and then putting it into one ordinance.
okay, there's no one in the audience to speak for or against this ordinance change, so I would ask commissioners if they have any questions. If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Yeah.
No question.
I move approval of the change in the floodplain as documented.
Those are originals with the PA signature on that,
Oh, okay.
and they're all pre-numbered.
All right, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess I'll just start with
Is this one of the originals?
No, we have all four of them.
We have 4 originals. Those are
The
just
originals
copies.
have the paper clips on them.
Those are just copies.
Boy, that makes it nice to have those all numbered.
I think we called Mary at home to get the next
No,
number.
Pat must have done it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. We realized the last second we hadn't done that, and we're like, oh, Mary's not here.
Yeah, that's a frightening thought when Mary's not here.
And shut down.
Mary is being overworked now because she is our only legal counsel on staff.
That was a good point about fireworks and animals when you mentioned that.
I just remember some pretty wild steers for being spooked by a storm.
Yeah.
By a storm?
By a storm. And never, they just don't get over it.
Sometimes they don't even need a storm. I can
Yeah.
remember some of Adams County there that just decided to be spooked.
Even the firecrackers that kids throw on the ground.
Okay, then the second thing, we have a public hearing on vacation of an easement.
And it's scheduled for 9:30, but I do have something
Okay,
we
all
can.
right.
The chairman signed a plat, and we're just, they met all the conditions of approval and are seeking a resolution for authorizing the chairman to sign the plat, which occurred last week for CAD development. They did meet all of their conditions again, and I'm seeking final approval.
And there was no rush on that, other than that they just didn't want to wait a week to record it. So that's fine. I guess that'd be,
I move for approval, for final approval of short plat 2004-10 as specified.
second? All in favor? Aye.
They turned that plat around in about the fastest I think we've ever seen it. I think they set a new record. They must have done that in about 3 or 4 days.
Well, it helps when the applicants,
Surveyor. He hits it. Get moved up on the priority list, I guess.
How are we coming with our good friend S. Dean, Stephen Dean?
well,
Mary.
Jerry Lingo and myself met with Mr. Dean last Tuesday.
He's not very happy with you.
He was nice to me in the grocery
It's
store.
not from the lack of trying. I tell you, we met with Mr. Dean and went over some of the items that he has on his property still. Informed him that we were going to go to a hearing examiner to, in a little different way, we're going to go to the hearing examiner, have the examiner determine if there is a violation or not. And if there's not, we're going to go away. If there is, we'll have the hearing examiner instruct us on how long of an abatement plan to give Mr. Dean. Whether it's 30 days, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, we'll have him instruct us on how long to enter into an abatement plan, just based on the history of what's been going on. And we're going to neutralize it.
When we met with him before out there, it was strictly on another issue, and that was on his fence.
Correct.
And that was resolved at the time. There's no issue really.
So we've concluded our meeting, and he seemed okay with what everything was going on, and then 2 mornings later, their fax came in saying how it was just an excuse to get on the property and take more pictures and so on and so forth, and he's just not real happy with whatever's going on. So
He's got a nice place. He's done a lot of things to it. And I think the reason they need to go to the hearing is saying they do have a complaint. You've got to respond to the complaint. And you've got to, is that Flippo, the complaint of the man, Bruce?
Well, it was an anonymous complaint. The
said
complaint
he-
came in from somebody and they asked that their name not be revealed.
But they said they'd testify.
Yeah,
He said he would testify, so if he's going to testify, he can't,
correct.
So,
Yeah, at that point. So,
And if you have the hearing, he said he would testify, so that's, and that takes care of two things. It responds to his complaint and addresses whether it is.
right. But whatever the outcome, I don't think Mr. Dean's going to be happy, no matter what the outcome, just from our past dealings, so. But that's not for me to say.
Okay, the public hearing for vacation of an easement.
Yeah, we had scheduled a public hearing with Rodney and Julie Burns for a vacation of easement. Mr. Burns contacted me last Friday and requested a continuance in order to explore his options a little bit further. So I guess I'm requesting
I don't know who's here at this one, but
Same people.
Terry's taking
I have no idea.
So
You just want me to fumble and stumble somewhere, huh?
No, I just asked.
on behalf of the applicant, I guess I'm requesting a continuance of this public hearing to Monday, August 2nd at 9:30 a.m. in order for him to
So moved.
explore his options.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we will have a continuing. Okay.
I move
Now,
approval.
Building department update.
Oh, we're gonna get an update, I guess.
Okay, I have to make a phone call, I guess, for a few minutes.
Sure.
Did anybody see that article in the paper yesterday on the number of building starts in the city of Pasco?
Yes.
521.
Absolute 521 in the first half of the year. That's almost unbelievable.
They did 871 alls last year, and they're on pace to do 1,100 this year. It is slowing down a little bit, though. Just in conversation with realtors, but in Pasco, it's the 200,000 and above priced homes aren't moving real quick anywhere. But Pasco's market at this point, the builders that are out there are building. A large portion of them are building, the 100 to
150 to
150.
200. Yeah.
150 to 200, there are a few of them, and they're still moving a little bit, but those $200,000 ones and above aren't moving real quick.
And yet, we looked at 4 houses in downtown Pasco, and one of them had just come on the market, and within 4 days they all sold in old Pasco.
Isn't that something?
Down here by the
Hold
high
the house
school,
worth it.
and
There's some nice
they're
homes.
old houses.
There's some nice homes down there,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
Boy, if I was rich and younger, I'd buy them and work on them, but no thanks.
So, I think that Pasco will continue to show strong housing starts with the market,
Just answer me one question. Where are those people coming from?
I ask myself that question every time we have the building report. And when's it going to end?
And
Why don't you go ahead
will
with
they
your-
stay full after it? ends?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead with your report, Jerry.
Okay. We're doing something a little bit different. The report itself is the same. The report itself is the same, but on the last 2 pages we have some colored charts to give you a little bit more of a visual breakdown.
Colored pictures. I'm
Colored
impressed.
pictures, yeah.
That is nice, Jared. I like that. I really do.
Mr. Brock, if you could help Mr. Bowen out with those colors. I see him making notes over there. Uh-oh.
Does
You
he,
know what, actually,
does he do your,
if you were correct, you would label those colors.
What color they are, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, Crayola does, so you should know what you're saying.
that was a good comeback,
That's
Chris.
good. Give you that. This is through the month of June. For the month of June, we did 209 buildings, and we took in $142,108 for permit costs with a added value to the county of $15,144,226.
We did, in June, we did 209 buildings of some type.
Year to date.
Year to date.
January to
Okay,
through
yeah.
June.
Year to date, 209. God, that's a lot.
Right, we did 44 buildings in June. And the column to the far left on the front there?
Yes, I see that.
We projected 232,000 for building permit revenue, and last Friday, I believe we were, I didn't bring it with me, I apologize. We were at over 150, so we're well
Well ahead of where you
ahead of what
yeah.
we projected, so. And if it continues on the way it is, we'll hopefully make the $300,000 mark or just shy of it for building permit revenue.
I am totally amazed every time I look at these figures. Now, those in the paper yesterday I thought were just fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. And then we did 11 building permits for single-family residences in the month of June. 1 mobile home, 10 garages or carports, and then we did 6 other, which are storage buildings, primarily in ag buildings. Did a few alterations and repairs, interior remodels, adding storage rooms, those sorts of things, decks. We did 1 demolition permit and 9 miscellaneous, which is mostly our reapplication process. Some of these permits expired. We sent them a notice saying, your permit's about to expire. Please come in and reapply, and we'll get you taken care of. And we're actually getting pretty good success out of that process. In the reapplication letter we sent them, we talk about there is the option of going to the hearing examiner if they don't comply. So I think that's getting a lot of compliance from people. And then the last 2 pages are the colored charts, 5-year building department revenue analysis. Just kind of gives you a breakdown from 2000 to 2004, what our building permit revenue has been by month. This isn't cost of construction or value, it's strictly the building permit revenue that the county's bringing in. And that,
2003 was huge in
Tremendous.
April.
My God,
Yeah.
isn't that something in April?
yeah, and that was primarily, we had a large cold storage building constructed at Douglas Fruit, which was very large value added to the county, plus the permit cost was very.
But in
very large.
October, we had another pretty good spike, too. It was not like that, but pretty good spike in October.
Yep. Yep. And 1 large industrial ag building, commercial building can really.
Look at our February beat all of it in all of the years of this year, and June.
But look at January this year, and it was cold weather,
Yeah.
bad weather. And that's-
Yeah.
I can't believe
yeah.
that we had that. Of course, that's permits, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But even so, my gosh.
But look across those from February to July or to June. Look how even those are, really. I mean, that's really
Steady.
pretty steady.
But if you look at from January to February, with that big snow we had,
That
contractors were just sitting there
They
waiting.
couldn't do anything,
They
yeah.
were sitting there waiting, and then you see in February they had just when it kind of
Really
cleared up a
went-
little bit, they
yeah,
jumped on
they
it.
got a spike in that.
And then it kind of gives you a little bit different breakdown.
Explain it to Fred as we go along.
I do have to say Sherry and Rebecca worked real hard on getting these color charts together.
These are
They
fun to look at.
Make a good team on
That's
getting these. Sherry did the color charts, and Rebecca works primarily on the other portion of the.
But the structures other than buildings, I don't see that in either one of them. colored wheels.
Yeah, the little bright blue, is that, well, no, that's not.
Structures other than buildings is a very light blue.
Well,
And
it's like a bright blue. It's between the mobile home and new home.
well, unfortunately, there's only one permit, and it's less than 0.5%, so it's in there. You just can't see it. It's just
It's
to the
on the
left
line,
of that
huh?
green sliver.
Oh,
It's just very,
on the
very light.
top one, but
Yeah.
not on the bottom.
you can, there's a bigger line there.
Yeah, and on the bottom one, there were no permits issued.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
if the pies were a little bit bigger, which we can work on that. This is our first month, so we're still kind of playing with it. I did have a question for you. This is our 5-year breakdown, the previous sheet. I didn't know if that was too much information for you, or if you'd like, here's a 3-year breakdown.
I
you
kind of like the 5-year
You like
one
the
for
5-year?
right now, the way it's.
I think that's real good, they have the 5-year, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll stick with the 5-year. I didn't know if it was too much to throw at you, or
We can comprehend anything.
not that you couldn't comprehend it. I didn't know if that was too much information that you
Well,
wanted.
now, are we, let's see, if we held steady for the last half of the year, we'll be above our fees, like if you doubled the 142.
Yeah, and right now, as of last Friday, I believe we're at 155 or 160. I'm hoping to get to the $300,000 mark.
Yeah, but I like this figure, the way it's put together here. I really like this. This is interesting to look at.
It is, that's good, and those ladies did a real good job on this. The wheels, that's very nice.
Yeah, I think we projected it was either 232 or 250 for this year in building permit revenue, and I'm hoping to get to 300,000 or just shy of it. So.
Well, I tell you, those figures in the paper yesterday really were an eye-opener. And if you compare with, say, another comparable county like Waldo County, you see the number of building permits they had, wasn't it 14?
Mm-hmm.
I got this.
Yeah, and our value is still.
Settled committee.
Benton County, I think, just this year surpassed us in value. We're, for the unincorporated portion of the county, we're at $237,000 for average value for a single-family residence in Franklin, and Benton went to $245,000 this year. But we've been leading the average value for the last, I think, 4 years.
And the number of permits they had was in excess of twice of ours, but they're 3 times in population.
Correct.
So I think our showing was excellent.
Yeah, and just the average value from the city to the county. The cities we're $100,000 in average value above the city, but they're doing. We did 33 in the first 6 months, and they did 521.
That second one is 300,000. The next one's 200,000.
And that
371,000, 262,000. My gosh, those are.
yeah, and that I think that
homes.
comes from the city has the city water and sewer, and they get the spec buildings, and they try to get more bang for their buck and the smaller lots, and ours that are occurring on half-acre and acre lots that
Well,
are
just
more of a
bigger
custom.
homes, bigger homes.
Yeah, they're more of a custom.
And they are custom, yeah.
So, and I think, and this isn't bad. This is just a comment. I think that one of the reasons our value has, Benton County raised above on our value is because of Butter Creek Estates, which is a very nice development. But they're averaging 150 to 180, which kind of brings ours down just a hair, not much. And it's still a very nice development, but it's more of a
Where's that at?
Road 68 in Wernat, New Wernat. It's a little bit,
And they're I know. They're the ones that have that white fence.
Yes, right on 68, yes.
and they're a little bit more of a spec home builder, but they're obviously dealing with bigger lot sizes than the Ahu or the camps, and so they put a little bit more into
It's
it.
kind of a nice addition in there.
It is. It really is. It's going to be real nice once it's built out.
You bet. I think it'll be nice.
But we'll go ahead and stick with the 5-year on the charts and go from there.
Good job.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting report.
Any questions?
How are you going to accommodate our county administrator?
I'll have to work on that one.
Okay, we got 15 minutes, so you want to take a break now and forget the one later, or?
Just
Ruffy, do you want me to have Greg come see you about a puppy for his daughter?
I think you should.
I'll have him come see you. And Mr. Bowen, I'll work on some hatching or something.
I can handle these charges.
We could do some of
Huh?
Fred's. We could do some of
Thanks
Fred's,
for your
too.
consideration.
15 minutes.
We'll do it before I hand these out. You want to go through executive session for 15 minutes and talk about the
Yeah.
track facility, or you want to handle the other stuff?
Okay, whatever you want to do.
Let's do that.
What
Let's just-
category is that?
Personnel.
Move for approval of the consent agenda?
Before we have a second, I wanted to remind the board, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at your mail, but the Benton County prosecutor recommended not signing it. It hasn't gone to Benton County yet for their signature.
On which?
On the second item, the amendment to the agreement for providing developmentally disability services between the Division of Developmental Disabilities and Benton and Franklin counties.
Okay.
He didn't say why he didn't recommend it.
I move for approval of the consent agenda. I withdraw my initial motion of approval of the consent agenda 1 through 5, leaving number 2 out.
But the prosecutor did sign it, so
But ours signed it, but theirs,
they signed it, but says approve as to form, but recommend against signing.
okay, then I'll second your motion, leaving number 2 out.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye. Yeah, when they recommend against signing it, I think that's,
But Steve didn't make that statement, so I was not quite
Yeah,
sure.
but we want to find out why. you
Yeah.
know. I'll do this after she gets done with her business. Let's see.
Poor old Paul Beardsley.
Yeah, he's my neighbor. That's right behind me.
What happened to him?
He's bleeding and they're going to have to do surgery, but he's an old upper that has, he's Mr. Hanford.
Oh, Paul Beardsley. Okay, now I know.
And he is so active in the Kiwanis, and he comes to our meetings every week.
how old a duffer is he?
Oh,
You already
gosh.
signed that one.
About 56.
How old would you say he was? He's in his
He's
90s.
90, I think he's about 96.
I'm trying to think. They had a birthday party for him, and
I did him and my mother-in-law mixed up. But I think
Is your mother-in-law that age?
She's 90.
is she, Julie's mom, is she not doing well?
Actually, the doctor told her that she's done living at home. And she had to go over to the assisted living, and
I don't
they're
know.
very angry.
Where's she at?
It's right down from her street. But I don't think she's moved yet.
Knowing her, she won't. Unless they pick her up bodily. Huh?
Yeah?
I just throw myself down the
Payroll.
stairs.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, I move the approval of payroll as specified.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. We could become pen pals of Dr. Kevorkian, and if sometime one of us take a trip to visit him, maybe he could sneak us something through the bars, and you just have it in place for later.
You sign there.
Doctor. I move approval of the vouchers expenditures for a number of things as specified, and the total amount would be $417,981.72.
I'm impressed. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that means we're out of money.
All gone. Gee whiz, what's wrong, Chairman? Haven't you taken care of these issues?
We gotta do a serious look at our budget and have a public hearing, open it up and start whacking.
We were going to call someone, was that done? Someone to come in from the sheriff's office?
I think Fred's been looking.
Okay. It's,
Let's do a little whacking before we open it up.
Okay, Anita, Tiffany wanted me to bring this into the board. It says John thought Clyde was getting paid from L&I. He was not. So payroll gave Clyde a draw to get him through next payroll. And I need a motion
Who is this?
Run that by me again.
don't pay him. Clyde.
What about it?
Why was he getting paid
John
from
thought
L&I?
Clyde was getting paid for L&I. Clyde did not put his claim in for L&I, so he was not receiving anything from L&I. So payroll is going to give him a draw to get him through next payroll in the amount of $700.
Will he then put a claim into L&I?
No.
Why?
He's using his vacation and sick leave for the time that he was off.
Oh, was off. He hasn't had a problem.
No, he
Recent,
just
most
returning
recent.
today, but since he wasn't getting paid anything, he asked if Tiffany could resolve that situation so they wouldn't pay him.
Well, if he's sick leave and vacation, he should have been paid.
But he wasn't.
Why?
So that's because John thought,
Oh,
John
it wasn't
didn't put his-
reported as...
Right.
He didn't do the payroll
do the
for him.
payroll.
Oh.
so we need a
That's too
motion.
bad John's
we
out of
need
here.
a motion to pay. I didn't see a voucher number anywhere, but.
But it was how much?
To pay a total draw of $700 to Clyde.
I move the approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You need more information?
I'll do
Thank you.
it.
Okay.
You sign anywhere here on this, I assume?
And then I don't know if everybody saw the invitation.
Yeah,
for
we
the
did.
Kentucky Fair Rodeo. Do you want me to respond RSVP for you to
That
attend?
is Wednesday, August the 4th. Yeah, I'd like to go to it.
I'll
Okay.
go. Tell them we don't want playing games, though. We don't want to take toilet paper and decorate people or anything.
Okay.
Yeah. How much is it?
I don't think they charge
They
us.
don't charge you.
We're guests.
You are guests.
Well, I'll have a guess.
I'll indicate that you'll take Carol with you.
Yeah, and find out how much it is.
I don't think they'll charge you.
They have never charged us, Frank.
Yeah, but he's talking about Carol.
Oh, Carol. Well, she's gone before. Did you have to pay for it before?
You know, I don't remember,
I don't
Sue,
think
whether
so.
I have or
Well,
not.
anyway. Let me know. I might drag Mr. over there just to keep from feeding him that night.
So are you and Neva going to be going to the APTA Transit Board?
I signed up, but I'm not sure that I'm going to go.
Yeah, I did too, but I'm
And
not.
I've got this at home.
Okay.
All that is heads up. Sounds kind of fun.
Sure, well, they urged us to go. That was,
And I'm giving this to you again. I gave one to Fred already, but I'm sure you will need to be discussing the extra person that he wants.
Yeah, we had this in the mail.
Yeah. And then this one here, we need to RSVP, but they're inviting you to a breakfast on July 29th at 7:30 at the Hampton Inn in Richland.
Don't RSVP me for this, Pat.
No?
I just sent money to the Heart Association. I don't think I'll go to a breakfast.
Okay.
I'll make them
I've
think
got that.
don't support them in by not going, I guess. But-
I got that
And
here.
then Sue, I have a whole bunch of stuff here that when you have time, I don't need to take up your time now. And then Neva also afterward to go a few things.
Okay.
Fred, have you read this letter from the sheriff?
That was
Do
requesting
you-
additional days.
Are you going to talk about it?
Thanks,
your
Pat.
time?
I have a budget workshop scheduled for my time, so we can talk about it then, if you want to.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on it, but I talked to you briefly on the phone.
Yeah, you did, and I just wonder. If we really do need somebody, additional, if he can't take from his existing staff, because he doesn't, have Riverview to respond to or patrol anymore, to speak of. There's very few. And, just like Chiawana, he's not going to patrol that or respond to that because it's in the city. So, his job has gotten less.
His area has.
Well, is this-
But the area out in my area is hardly covered at all.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't make any difference whether
You think if we add another one, it will be?
You think it would be any better?
No, what I'm saying is, though, an extra person in here certainly would help in that, because it's you won't be a road deputy. You won't be a road deputy. But the road deputies sometimes have to do other things, as I understand it, other than just road work.
Well, when I go to these administrators' conferences and the different conferences and everything, typically, as annexations occur, population bases go down, and that's where the more the domestic, and that's where they're needed. And we've lost quite a bit of that population, which basically frees up deputies to go out there if that's where they choose to go. But they don't go out there. I've had more than one comment about how they're all pretty well hanging around, and I don't get into the sheriff's business or any of that. But when I look at the shortfalls in the sheriff's department and the corrections facility, and that, I mean, my first response when I'm trying to balance this budget or look at how it can be done is, how we're going to make cuts on this stuff. And if we have a chance to get extra funds coming in,
Well,
then-
would these funds still come in and fund an existing deputy on that?
well, if you transfer one of the existing deputies over to that and use those and dedicate that person for that, then that's a cost savings to the current expense, is my comments on that. We'll still have the same amount of people, but he'll be doing something else, because to be real honest with you, when I was going through these budget workshops and stuff and where we are with the budget and shortfalls, I was going to say we need to take a look at sheriff's department.
Well, we may have to cut a deputy anyhow,
And I've seen if you cut a deputy, you can put them right in there, which then you still have the same amount of deputies, but we have one position fully funded, and we could be reimbursed for all of the uniforms, the cars, the guns, the vests, the whole thing.
Well, the car wouldn't.
The car is not an issue.
Well, anyway, that was a conversation I had with me.
Well, if we were going to have to remove a deputy, lay one off, then
If we have
this
to
would be a lifesaver for that.
Yeah,
but
it would be a help.
for another 3 years.
But I stand on what I said initially, that we don't get coverage in the north end. out there.
Well, and I think, my fear is it wouldn't matter what you
I
put.
don't think it
I don't
would
think
either.
it'll matter. I see them, 3 of them following themselves down the street out where I live, and it's in the city. And so,
Of course,
but again,
Yeah.
they may
Yeah.
they may go to a corner and split up and go to all kinds of Franklin County.
I can't.
For all I know, I'm trying to be fair.
I can't
The
control
only
that.
person that I see patrolling is Kevin Carley,
And that's on his way home.
and he
Well-
comes by my house quite often.
Actually, I was scheduling a budget workshop, but since you're not going to be here, I'd just as soon have all 3 of you here to do that. And Tom and Tiffany and he's put together a lot of numbers to take a look at, and the
Already?
shortfall. Yeah, we were set up to do it today.
Well,
were you?
Frank and Sue can do it
Well,
do I have to be
What
there?
time
I
is it
think we
scheduled
should.
for?
What's one more week?
Just-
It's not scheduled.
Oh.
I have it on mine, number 2 is budget workshop, and I was just gonna see if we can set
Why
up.
don't we set it up?
Well, could we
next-
do it
next-
Friday?
Next Monday, yeah.
Neva's gonna be back Friday unless you're gonna be totally exhausted and.
I think we can wait until the beginning of next week.
I'm not gonna be available Friday.
Aren't you?
I'll,
I
I might be, but I'm not sure.
I'll just set it up for next week. You know, when it's convenient for everybody, but I think, you know, I think we just need to sit down and take a look at it.
Why,
Because
is that
we may,
what it
we,
goes?
Well, I don't know.
we're anticipating, we're gonna be heading for a little bit of trouble.
Work
You know,
work
and
it for
we're at
2 years.
50% of the revenues, but, and we're at 47% of the expenditures. And Marie's already saying, well, when we run short, where are we gonna start borrowing money from? And so, you know, I just think right now would be a good time for us to sit down and go.
We better
over
give
it.
ourselves the same ultimatum that we're giving the fella at the track.
Well,
We better
we need
make
to-
some cuts.
I think it's time to look at it. You know, maybe I would just as soon be cautious than sit back and go, oh, well, now what do we do when it's too late?
No, I think you're right, and we can all be thankful that 864 didn't make the ballot. God, had it made the ballot,
Yeah.
would have been
Well-
terrible shape.
We've got a, huh?
Can I quickly get these minutes approved?
Sure.
Okay. I move approval of minutes for June 15th, June 16th, June 21st, July 7th, and July 12th.
Is there a second?
There seemed to be some hesitation and doubt there, but I will second that.
Okay.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. I was so sure you were going to approve them. That's the way I am. If not, we had to tear them up and throw them away. There was no changes except one, and you'd all nodded when I called it to your attention, so I thought I was on easy street here.
Now, are we all caught up, Mary?
June 28th is the only other one. You've only Neva hasn't given it back.
Well, I don't have them then, because I don't know where they're at. Unless they're right here. Okay.
We still have about 5 minutes for a break here, Madam Chair. Should we take a break?
Sure. Ready for you, Terry and Darrell.
All right.
Are you on this Health Alliance Food and Fitness? Oh, yeah, you are.
I am.
So what have we got today?
What we've got today is an amendment that we're hoping to get signed to a personal services agreement for Greg Haney, the attorney. I think that you guys have learned that he didn't have insurance from January through
Yeah.
June. He since is showing that he's got insurance, and Benton County signed this resolution essentially amending his contract, his personal services contract, to include some of those things that are important to both counties in terms of making sure that he's got insurance and some kind of stuff in here that talks about terminating his contract if he doesn't have the insurance.
Yeah, Sharon's briefed us on it.
Yeah, she has.
Okay. I figured she had. So what last week on the 12th, Benton County signed on their side of the river, so we were just bringing them over to you today to see if you could sign them, and then
As long as you go in that order.
Benton County first.
Got the stamp.
Got to be
Or
first.
do you want it to
If we
stamp
sign
it?
first, they never sign.
Mary's going to stamp them. The number is,
2004-342.
you going to make a motion? Mr. Burke?
I move for approval.
I'll second the motion.
And that's for Greg King.
Very clean, yeah.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Now, Mr. Brock, I could have made a better motion than that.
How could you make a finer motion than that?
So moved.
I've been waiting a long time to be able to say that.
I try hard to get.
So they had a separate resolution. A lot of times it's a joint.
No, they did theirs without a resolution, but Pat chose to do ours with the resolution. Every time we do anything with the
This
contract,
is-
we do a resolution.
But
They still signed, though, right?
Yes,
They
they signed.
signed the addendum, I believe.
They signed.
All right.
And we still don't know if Greg will sign. I guess that's his problem if he didn't sign.
We'll personally serve him and have him come and join us on Friday.
Oh, uh-huh.
great. How many contracts do we have? Well, those are just copies, Frank. These are the originals. You don't sign those.
No, I do. Benton County signed
Oh,
it.
did they?
Please.
How many do we have?
Usually there's at least 4 when it's the by
Oh, I
county.
think there's about 15.
Yeah, I was going to say, I
Yeah.
think I've watched some of them.
There's 5 letters and
Yeah, there might be 5 letters and 5 contracts. Maybe. Or
Sue
5.
gets asked me on my motion, you
One
criticize me for
signing
my
on
signing.
each
I,
They're all black
oh,
here.
shoot. I try hard to do well. I'm-
Doesn't Fred stick up for you at all?
Oh, there's a lot of signing going on here, I tell you.
Attorney might not be worth it. Have to sign all these documents.
He doesn't come in and sign it.
I think I got most of those. I got at least 50% of them.
Didn't realize that 15 minutes you needed.
Yeah, we needed for something.
Got the extra stuff.
Not sure what I got there, but I got a handful of something. So.
They're all separate, so Mary can
Oh, okay.
find them, I guess.
There's probably one or two we skipped somewhere there. Mary.
Okay, is there anything else?
No, not unless you want to give us a whole bunch of money. Got any to give us, we'll take her.
As you know, we're always pretty flush in Franklin County.
Yeah. But unfortunately, you're second in line for all that money. Somebody else happened by, so we gave it all to them.
I was afraid of that.
Are there any issues you want to talk about?
I think we're
Chugging along?
We're chugging along, doing well, yeah.
Good.
And no issues. I'm glad to hear
No
that.
issues. Only with one attorney.
Are we
Yeah.
full?
Actually, we had a good weekend this weekend. I think we had about 3 intakes was all this weekend. We were at 49, so.
49 is fine, right?
Yeah,
Too hot for anybody to get out and
no, that's real good. It fluctuates, but, you know, we're hanging around that 50 number, which is good.
Before we've been in this first.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, last, 3 weeks before this, we're sweating that.
Yeah, it fluctuates a lot. We got one kid broke his finger this weekend. He's got to go back to the surgeon. He's going to be an interesting one because he's a kid that's been with us since last September, and he's really an adult. his case was declined on, but we worked out an arrangement with the jail, since he's not 18, that we house him over there, but technically he's an adult prisoner being housed in our facility. So now he's got to go to an orthopedic surgeon. So we're going to be negotiating real heavy with the sheriff and Rick Long to determine who's going to pay that bill.
How'd he break his finger?
I don't even know, playing basketball or catching a ball wrong on his finger. It actually was dislocated. So.
Well, that's good. That's better than a break.
But he's our inmate.
Yeah, he's a Franklin County inmate. And he's been there since September, so.
Straight. Steady since.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a long spell.
Well, it was one of those armed robbery cases over here, and it just keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. So it's all, pre-trial stuff that he's waiting to be sentenced on.
Normally, what would he get for sentence?
Has he had his trial?
No.
Oh.
Well, he'll be looking at adult court, so he'll be looking at several years.
Yeah, he'll be getting a lot of years, maybe 10 years or something in prison. So I'm sure he'll get credit for time served, but just in juvenile, you're not used to those long stays prior to kids being sentenced. Most of the time they're sentenced kids.
Okay. So
It says on here, who they go to, so I kept those three.
thank you.
All right. Well, you guys have a nice rest of the day. Nice.
Thank you. You too.
Busy.
Boat race
It's
week.
the big
Yeah,
weekend.
busy
isn't it?
weekend.
Cool.
Well, there might be more inmates.
I know. Yeah.
Well, it's calmed down a lot.
It really has. It's- In years past, we've really geared up thinking that they might break up some big party and bring in 20, 30 kids at a time. And fortunately, that's
Never
really
happened.
happened. So we don't even gear up anymore. It's just another weekend to us. Well, thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Gary and Daryl.
Have a nice rest of the day.
Yeah, we will. Okay, are you riding with Steve Lowe to that, or no? Melina. Oh, Melina Winner. Her mother and two boys. Oh, that she is. Yeah. No, I don't like the first one. We got problems.
To ward them off, actually. Oh, something, huh? We were at a pre-con meeting. Well, you came in for that part of it. And they were discussing the dome being removed and taken down to San Francisco. And I was a little concerned about if our insurance has really covered that. So I came back and I called Willis Coon up and asked them to explain the whole bill's risk, the property policies, and asked if it actually covered the dome, if the dome was to leave the property. He came back and explained to me how all the insurance works, and no, it does not include coverage of the dome. So I had called the architect, Eric, and I explained to him my concerns about it. Wanted to make sure that we had the coverage on it, and also asked to get an estimate on the dome for insurance purposes, because Willis needed that as it was too. He had come back and said that the dome is $1.2 million. So that, again, Willis didn't cover it. Our property insurance didn't cover it. So I then called Lighty Construction. And I was talking to Sean, and I said that I wanted to make sure that before that dome was touched that Franklin County was additionally insured, as was Lighty. I wasn't too concerned about Lighty, but I wanted to make sure Franklin County had the coverage that showed the transport to San Francisco, because it's going to San Francisco, and just to protect ourselves. Eric had made a comment that maybe if the county's going to send a $1.2 million dome to San Francisco, that somebody from the county go down and actually verify the company, get a comfort level with it, and make sure that you're comfortable sending the dome down. Which I think is a good idea. The way the county structured the pay, which brought up another concern that I had, is that we don't pay until we prove that the work has been done. So if that's the case, this company is a small enough company to where they can't carry the county's work for, they can carry it for 30 days, but they can't carry it for 60 or 90 days, so they need to get a check monthly from the county, which we don't have a problem doing, but we can't verify that the work has been done. So mulling that around and thinking about it, actually what I would like to be able to do
Just go down to San Francisco once a month.
No.
I'll go once for you.
If it came right down to that, then I would say yeah, but I think I've got a solution to the problem. Bridget's dad is a construction supervisor, has been in construction his whole life, and he lives in San Francisco.
That's right.
If it's possible, I would like to go down, meet with him, go over to the company, look through it, make sure we have a comfort level on that, and contract with him to at least stop by once a month to verify work being done.
We would need to contract with him, Fred.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah, contract with him.
Yeah.
And we'll just run it through our personal services contracts through that, if you're so inclined to do so.
That'd be fine.
That way
I don't
we
think
can.
I would have a problem with it.
I think it would be, well, again, obviously I think it's a good idea, because I wouldn't be talking to you about it, but that might be an easy enough solution to keep us from having to spend a whole lot of time and money running down there. One of the urgencies that's coming up, I just talked to Terrence this morning, and he was saying the contractor's supposed to be here starting Monday to start moving the dome. And I said, well, first, we need to get first things first. Things need to be taken care of.
How are they going to move that? Just put it on a big truck? Or
You know what they're going to
full
do?
of cotton or something?
Yeah, they're going to do a styrofoam rib.
Is it that, did we get one from that other
No.
county, or we got our own?
What I can tell you is that the company that's going to move it is the same company that moves the Egyptian artifacts around, because that is
What do they
irreplaceable.
charge for doing it?
I don't know. It's all part of the bid.
Part of the bid process.
Yeah, and I don't know what the breakdown is of it. It's just part of that bid.
Boy, if I were handling it.
Yeah,
but
I want to see them do
Egyptian
that.
artifacts.
Fred, I want to
Yeah.
see them do that.
take it
Tell
down.
me, yeah.
They're supposed to be putting up scaffolding today, and they're supposed to start to take that dome down. That's the first thing that's going to happen is the dome is coming out of it.
When are they going to start doing it? Do you know?
Next Monday.
But they'll rebuild the entire thing down there.
Yeah, actually, from what I understand.
Re-lead every piece, clean it.
Every piece, every one of the larger panels that are like that, they have to come out completely. The colored ones, the smaller colored ones, are still in pretty good shape. That they don't necessarily think they have to remove every one of them, but they're going to pull all that lead off of that, take every
What if
piece
it
out.
breaks when they take it? They have a special way to take it off.
They know what they're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. Well, I'm
That's
I
the
think
point.
I should be there to watch.
We want to make sure they do know what they're doing as far as,
Yeah, we don't care about the Egyptians. Who knows?
yeah.
That's
Well, I'll get on a fast track. I may be on a plane on my way out of here by the end of the week to go down there and take a look at that, or the first of next week or something.
Hey, you got track to oversee too.
Well, I'll send one of the architects down or something. You know, I don't.
I
necessarily
think
have
I'd rather
to.
you do it, Fred.
Well, the
I'm
reason
mad at
why I
the
suggested
architects.
myself is that, you know, my hourly wage isn't $150 to $200 an hour plus all that sort of stuff, so it'd be more cost effective to send me down there than it would be.
Besides
to
that,
send them.
I'm mad at the architects anyway. They screwed up.
Well, I feel the same way. We wouldn't be where we are. But, okay, so I'll let you know what's happening with that dome. The next one is the workshop. Again, I think we'd want to schedule something for next week. We kind of
Week from Tuesday, week from tomorrow.
Which would be a better day for you? Maybe I should ask Pat to come in and see if we can't figure out a schedule.
Yeah.
Boy, this month is just going so
Hasn't it though?
fast that it's hard to keep track of what month you're in anymore.
You know, boat race week is hard to figure.
Usually it's the last week. you know.
Yeah, or a week early.
Yeah,
Or a week early because of the
Month
last
fall,
Sunday.
yeah.
It's the last Sunday.
The lady with the book.
What date you looking for?
Next week,
week.
Tuesday.
Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon is open. Sue has Haypick at 4. Tuesday, Neva is busy at 3.
What about
For
in the
what?
morning, Tuesday morning?
Do we know?
Can't we do it Monday afternoon? Do you have
Workforce.
something?
Workforce.
Oh,
Not
Both
that
of them
I
are at
know
4?
of right now. So.
One's at 3, one's at 4. For you on Tuesday. Hers is 4 on Monday. And if anybody's going to go to the Pasco Chamber meeting, that's from 11 to 2
On Monday.
on Tuesday.
Oh, the meeting, not the... I'd rather do it Monday, but it's up to you guys.
I don't care.
can we get it done Monday?
Yeah, because right now all we have is office, planner, engineer, Fred.
Well, I was thinking, well, maybe you could just do it from
Right
then
after
on. I was
regular
thinking
meeting.
right after lunch.
We
but
could do it right after a regular
Sure.
meeting maybe, and then continue it
Continue
early
on.
afternoon, yeah.
That might be a good idea. Or send out for sandwiches and stay
Works
here.
for me.
That would work.
You want to check with Tom,
Okay.
but yeah, Monday's fine with me.
What's the date of Monday?
I
26.
know what I wanted to
Today's 19th, should be
ask.
26, shouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot to ask Tim, you know that trial was on over in Benton County. Did you hear anything about it?
What
Were you
trial?
not- none of it- Yeah, that's what I said, what trial? Because when I talked to Steve Lowe, he wanted to get together and talk about some of the issues on Blissful, and
The trial.
it's a trial for the bus and pickup.
Oh, no, I
accident.
didn't know.
And it was in
Really?
Illinois. Don't you think we should have been notified?
God, I didn't know it until right now.
Yeah, me either.
Me neither.
First I heard that.
Somebody should have gone over and
Steve,
observed.
Steve Lowe, when he came in the first of the month, one of you was gone, and he
Me.
was going to wait to do that, and then he hasn't been back since, I believe, if I remember.
But he made the comment that he was, because he wanted to meet with me, and he said, but I'm going to go sneak into that trial. And I said, what trial? And then he told me. And I was going to try and go over to it, but I couldn't make it.
Okay. So workshop from 10:30 to 12, and then from 1 to 3:30, or?
One to whatever, you know.
Okay.
Whatever.
Well, she has to leave to go to her 4 o'clock, so.
Well, go 1 to 3:30 then.
Why don't we think
Yeah,
about just
would
getting
you
a
check
sandwich
that?
and working right through?
Anybody else?
Does anybody have an argument with that?
Or we could send out for that.
Sounds
You like
like
Chinese
they
food?
want to work through lunch.
Sure.
You want to work through lunch?
I wonder, why don't we get Chinese food from that place?
Monday,
Oh, did you like that?
I loved it. It's
Did you
so much
put this
better
down?
than Chinese Gardens.
Oh, yeah.
What Chinese
I
place
think I
was it?
did.
It's Shanghai,
Wasn't that
is it,
what you're talking
there
about,
on
the 26th,
Clearwater
or
that
not?
used to be
What day is that?
Henry's.
I don't know what Henry's is. They just, that's fairly new then.
No, I didn't,
About a year old.
because I figured you'd be
Henry's been
thinking.
closed over there a couple of years now.
I have
We used
to
to
go
meet
to
over
that.
that. Henry.
We might call Hayes
Yeah,
to
it's
get
in
on
Woods.
that.
And cheap.
Yeah, it is.
I like
Nice
that.
and clean.
I put it over
You
here.
can get
We
a
better call
full
Hank
meal
and
for
tell
less
him
than $4
that I either can't
for
come
lunches if you go over.
I took Randy
or
Renee,
that I have to leave
yeah.
early
She and
because
I
I'd
went
only
to
be
lunch.
there for half an
and
hour.
it was excellent. If I wouldn't have had
Why
a
don't you just tell him I
glass of
can't come? I
wine, it
have
would
to
have
go
been
to
really
that.
cheap.
I told him I'd be on it and I missed
But I
it.
had a glass of wine.
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
I don't know, we stumbled across that a year ago.
Well, I probably cost one your whole meal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right.
You
And they
keeping
do
that?
great
Okay.
takeout too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want
You'll
to.
put it in my book.
Why don't we do
I
a
will. That's
takeout?
my
That's fine.
Haven't heard a darn thing you said. I was talking to her.
Well,
What?
why don't you listen?
Because I don't know, like,
Do you like Chinese?
yeah, it's okay.
Okay, we're gonna do.
Is that that place you went to?
Well, that Fred went to too.
Yeah, well,
Shanghai or whatever it is? All right.
haven't you been over there? You know, if you
I'd
like
say-
Chinese food, that's probably the best one. to
I
taste.
told my husband about it, and he said, "Well, I'm going to Chinese Gardens." But I forgot when we came through town the other night.
The
I should've
Fortune
mentioned it.
Garden in Hermiston, my wife and I stopped there for a while.
Oh, yeah, that's
We
good.
stopped, God, yeah.
We stopped when we took our tour, didn't we?
That's right, we did go there.
Yeah.
Hey, we saw the horseshoe horse yesterday. Made a point to
Oh,
stop and look at the
did
horseshoe
you?
horse.
Oh,
Yes.
hey, you
Know
just,
what?
Wilbert was probably up there. What time of the day was it?
Well, we came through probably about 5 o'clock.
Oh, no, he was.
What's the horseshoe horse?
Sue's
Old
daughter's
Shoes
place.
is his name. Standing there and doing nothing.
Have they always had that fence around there, Sue?
No, Wilbur put a fence up so nobody could get to his horse.
That's a brand new
So the
fence.
horse couldn't get away.
That's a brand
Yeah.
new fence there,
It's a
yeah.
brand new fence.
It's your horse?
Yeah.
The horseshoe horse.
It's not alive. It's made out of horseshoes and things.
Oh,
That's quite
where's it
a.
at?
At Susie's business. Don't
In
ask
Hermiston,
me
that's
why.
rather nice up there.
Yeah, it looks real good. Now, if we can make some money, we'll be all happy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you sell the same thing that Costco and Walmart sells and forgets to tell people they can't service them, it's a big problem because Suzanne is responsible once she services them. And yet she needs the money. So, well, it's such an interesting thing.
Yeah, that fence.
Okay, what else do we have on your agenda? This looks pretty,
Well, I will tell Robert you said
The
that.
letter.
Oh, the budget memo? Yeah, do we need approval of that?
Yeah, I have it here for Anita to sign it if you agree to.
I move approval of that memo to the elected officials department, Dartmouth heads, department heads regarding the budget spending freeze.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye. Now, this that we have here shows what we're in arrears, right? You provided that in this packet. Is that right?
On the courthouse?
No, is that courthouse the only
Yeah,
one?
this is the same.
You don't have
budget
the budget thing. Hi there. Stumble.
No, I don't have it. We'll
Mr. Perkins.
We'll just lay it out. We're not in arrears. Actually, we're right
Yeah.
at 50%.
Oh,
But we're
but
just
we're
kind
just
of looking at some of the departments
looking
that are
worried.
bringing their revenues in.
As projected.
Have you take a look and see what you want to do. So, you want this?
Yes.
I don't see your name here, sir.
But the thing of
It's
it
on
is,
there?
the ones that aren't bringing the revenue in,
Right there.
we can't make
11
money
a.m.
in that department. From a liability standpoint.
I'm early, so.
Bruce Perkins.
It doesn't
Yes,
show
that
up
would
yet.
be your name.
Let's step up to the plate.
Oh, you ready for
Ready.
me?
You bet.
I'm not quite prepared yet. I've had 4 minutes more of sweating this out.
I know. How are we so honored to have you with us?
Well, you know,
Ready.
well, I'm here in response to a letter that Nita sent Dr. Yucca. It says the Franklin County Board of Commissioners would like the Health Board to discuss why 2 percolation tests are required when short plating properties. We feel that this is unfair to property owners. 1 test is required at the time of short plating, and another is required at the time of building. This is an extra cost to the property owners. We feel that this should be placed on the board, Health Board agenda for discussion when you are present.
What's the date of that letter?
This date was July 6th.
Bruce doesn't say that he gets a commission on this extra, but go ahead, Bruce.
Well, there was a copy of it went to Jared, so I contacted Jared to see if he knew what it was about, and I talked to Mr. Brock, and he gave me what he felt it was, how he felt that the Franklin County subdividers were aggrieved by the decisions made by the health department. And I'm here to discuss this with you and hopefully provide some justification or rationalization, which will be accepted by all 3 of you, or at least 2 of you. Realizing this is an election year coming up here. But anyway, I thought maybe I could discuss this with you prior to the board meeting, and if you wanted to keep it on the board agenda, that's fine too. But if there was an issue, I would answer questions. If
You were sent to quell the...
no, I wasn't
trial.
sent. I volunteered. I thought it would be more appropriate for me to come over here than drag this out at a board meeting. When
You
in
don't
fact,
want the rest of the board to know.
Well, we
you've
have-
been unfair to people.
we have some pretty explicit legislation on what's required of us when we do plat reviewing, and I can explain that to you, or whatever you want to talk about.
We need to
I
have it explained.
Okay. Anything in specific, or just the whole thing? Whole thing.
I think.
Okay. Since this talks about
Because, like I said to you, it seemed redundant if we perk it at the time of plating and then at the time of
okay,
building.
first of all,
Seemed like it's double duty.
the word percolation test is used here. Percolation test is an antiquated term that we haven't used in about 20 years. A percolation test is a hole that you dug, like with a post hole digger, to a certain depth. You fill it full of water, measured the amount of time that water took to drop in the hole, and then you would size your sewage system on that. That's not reliable, especially if you're perking a gopher hole or something like that, or sometimes you have an impervious material like caliche, which I'm sure that Mr. Brock is familiar with, that
I've heard the term.
that you can't perk because it won't perk. Anyway, so what we require now is that any time people are subdividing land, whether it's short plat or long plat, they have to do, one of the things that they have to do for us, in addition to an application and a plot plan showing proposed lot lines and that sort of thing, is that we require, pursuant to the law, that they dig test holes so that we can determine if in fact the land is generally suitable for a septic tank system. Now, when I say generally, because when we get a short plat or long plat in, we get it in the preliminary stages. They haven't really even decided how many lots they're going to have at that particular time. Many times they haven't. If it's a short plat, they know they can only get four lots max out of it. So we require that they excavate some test holes on their property with a backhoe, which goes down and digs holes 7 to 10 foot deep, so that we can look at the soil profiles. And if the test holes are generally acceptable, when we issue our recommendations to the planning department, we will put on there that they are generally acceptable. But without a specific binding site plan at that time, we have no way of knowing whether or not it's going to be acceptable at a later date. I mean, we could require a lot more test holes initially and make a better determination, but that's just going to cost money and may not solve the problem either. Now, were you thinking something there, Frank?
No.
Okay.
Well, what I wanted, while I'm thinking about it, is normally a lot of our short plats are out in the rural area where they're just cutting their existing home out from the rest of the farm, and that second lot, which is the farm, will probably never have a building put on it.
One of the things,
maybe 1 in 10, maybe, but they're either refinancing or giving up farming and want to continue to live in the home.
right? I understand
And
that.
so, okay, so that's what.
Now that's what
Isn't that most
that is
of what
that is
our
a
prop-
scenario.
And that's the majority of what we have. on
But,
the short plat.
and yeah, to elaborate a little bit in our discussion with you on that, lots of times when they break one off, there's only one lot.
Right.
And they already have that hole dug there. And if they break off a 2.5 acre lot and they've got the hole dug, then our feeling was that one hole should suffice as far as requirements to health department.
Well, it may. It all depends. Well, let me backtrack a little bit here, because we're getting ahead of where I was going to go
I'm
here. Because the question here is short platting in general. If we're going to go to SEGs, well, let's talk about segging off a farm unit. A farm. Okay, many of these things there is not a dwelling on, but they're going to take some land out to put a dwelling on and then sell off the farm or whatever. And then many times there is a dwelling on there, and they want to segregate that from the farm. One of the reasons that we have test holes is not only to determine if the soils are suitable for septic tanks, but also that's the way we determine what the minimum lot size is. Because a lot of times people will say, well, I want to leave an acre here for my farmhouse, and then the rest of it's going to go on, where the circles is or wherever like that. We use a soil log, the test holes, to determine if, in fact, an acre is sufficient size, because the lot sizes are determined on the basis of the soils that are found at that site. Many times, an acre may not do it. It may have to be 2 acres or 5 acres. Regardless of what they would like, a new lot can't be created that doesn't meet those standards. Are you still with me here? If I go, if you're not, let me know, because sometimes.
But I just wanted to mention, we don't do segregations in segs.
Well, right, I understand.
It's gotta
It's a
be
short,
short.
right.
Yeah.
I was just using the seg as a general term.
It's just like per hole.
Okay, I'm sorry, you got me there.
All
Neva,
right.
you've nailed me in that one. I'll put my glasses on then. I can think better with my glasses on. You're right. You're exactly right. You used to do segs.
Yes.
And a lot of time they were mortgaged or
We're still suffering
segregation.
from the segs that we were done.
But what,
Yes.
somewhere I got lost, what did you do instead of the perk holes then? I mean, how is that done differently?
Well, we always did the test holes, but the perk tests were done in addition to that. Now, if exactly. Now, if we see a soil that is, if we look at the soil and say, based on the soil profile, that's going to be it requires a 2.5 acre lot.
Okay.
But the applicant says, well, I don't see the same thing in the soil as you do. Then they take a sample of that soil to a soil scientist, who does what's called a sieve test, or particle size
Yeah.
analysis,
I'm familiar with that.
which better defines soil, if in fact it's a question, because sometimes it could be a type 3 or 4 or 5. It may not be totally obvious, but usually it is, because our people have a certain degree of soil science training. But if in fact, I'll step back a step further. We have to have test holes to determine minimum lot size. And we also have to have test holes to determine if in fact they have replacement area for that house. That is a big deal here.
But now, Bruce, a lot of times the survey is done before you ever have the test holes.
Sometimes it is, and that's a problem. Generally, the planning department will send them into us before they pay to have a survey done, because that way they know what their minimum lot size can be after we've done our stuff. What they want may not be what they get.
If there's an existing structure on the place, there might be, within a working septic system, you still require the test hole.
If in fact, yes, we would. The test hole has to be used to determine if in fact that lot meets the legal requirements set forth by the law.
Even though there's an existing?
Yes.
Now they wouldn't do that if they weren't short platting.
Well, that's not true. If their system failed,
Oh, well, yeah.
we would make them dig a test hole.
A working system.
If it's a working system, they would still have to have a test hole to determine if in fact they had had good soils for replacement, and to also determine the lot size.
Now, I know one instance where the two lots were broken off. One lot was the rest of the farm, and the septic tank Annie there wanted to go out and dig in the rest of the farm.
For the second lot.
Okay.
For the third lot.
Oh, third lot.
Yeah.
Third lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
And what I'm saying is, the rest of the farm amounted to the rest of acreage, and you're going to have, there was no building or anything there, and you're going to have another test well there. So why would the requirement be that you would have to go out there and dig two?
okay. First of all, if I would have had some actual stuff I could have studied before time, I could have given you a more definitive answer. So I'm just giving you a general answer, okay? Any new lot created still has to verify that they have soils to put in a sewage system.
What I'm saying is, Bruce, you guys have established a position, and you're arguing your position, whereas the other lot that I'm speaking of, the rest of the farm, there would be no reason to build on it until you had a building permit. Period.
Yeah, but you're creating a lot to build on, though, aren't you?
No.
I thought I understood you on your three-lot scenario.
You've got two lots here, which are broken into specific acreage. The third lot is the rest of the farm.
Okay, but that's still a lot.
But septic, yeah, but they're
But
not
they
going to
weren't
build on it.
planning
They're
on
not gonna
building
build
on it, they were planning on farming it?
They were planning on farming it.
We have to, and the planning department has to look at that as a building lot.
Why?
Because it's just the rules and the regulations.
But that's the one that
Is that
doesn't
a
make
state-
sense.
Yeah.
That makes
Is that
no
a state
sense,
law?
Bruce. Is that law?
Yes, it is.
Well, then the
Bruce, I
state
question
needs to-
that, whether that's state law or not, that you would have to go out, say the rest of the farm, you got another 100 acres, 150 acres left here and the rest of it. And the only reason you broke it off is for these two lots, and they count one as a third lot. Why would you have to get a profile on the other?
Well, first of all, it's still considered a possible building lot. Now,
But you're going to have a test at that time, and you're going to have to determine the size lot at that time you can have.
I'll give you a scenario, okay? 150 acres is probably not the scenario I can give you on. But we've had people come in with 25-acre lot. Say the third lot is a 25-acre lot, saying and find out they could not put a sewage system on 25 acres because it was bedrock or some such thing. I'm just giving you general answers. I can't tell you specifically on that.
I could see the reason. I could see the reasoning on 25 acres, but if you have 150 acres, it's doubtful somebody wants a 150-acre yard.
Okay, let me tell you what
I
we
would
used to
even-
do in Franklin
yeah.
County and Benton County too. On that type of situation, we would put on there, as long as they put a statement on there, unsuitable for building, we wouldn't even test it.
But that wouldn't necessarily have to be the case if you still require a profile before you give a building permit. If you still require a profile before you give a building permit, what is the point in requiring a test on that other balance of the ground?
Because we have to consider it as a lot that somebody could build on.
But you can't without a building permit.
Well, you know what? I'd like to see that law so that we can take that up with our legislative steering committee and work on the legislature.
Something's wrong there, Bruce.
Well, see, we used to, the statement on there used to serve all parties fine. I mean, it would serve the property owner fine, it would serve us fine. We didn't test it. We're saying that it's unacceptable for building, period. But the planners departments, and I'm not pinpointing it, actually it was Benton County, the planners departments are the people that had the problems with that statement. Now, that is the issue you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, but there wouldn't have to be any statement there saying it's unsuitable for building because you don't know. All I'm saying is before you give a building permit, you have to get a profile on it anyhow. And why do you have to do it at the time you break off these other two lots?
Just because, I guess the only answer to that...
Because he's not objecting to the two lots that we know is going to be built on.
Yeah, these two lots
I understand exactly what you're saying. And the only thing I can tell you, though, my only response is that we consider it, and the planning department considers it a building lot, a buildable lot. And as such, to verify that it's being created and meets the standards.
Yeah, I think there's a misunderstanding somewhere on this, Bruce. That is wrong.
Well, especially if one planning department had a problem with it and the other didn't. Either somebody wasn't doing their job.
Well, we have no problem if Franklin County doesn't want to have that big parcel tested and we put a statement on there unacceptable for sewage systems, fine.
If I had 70 acres, I don't think I'd be very happy having to do that to not get that. I mean, so I have 70 acres and I take a 5 and a 5 off and I've got 60.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I'd be real excited about saying unsuitable for building on there unless you can remove that.
Exactly, and that was the problem.
But that's not fair, because you have to have it one way or another when, in fact, you have no idea what you're going to do with that. You may put a small orchard there and leave it for 100 years. Well, not that long. But you may, at some time, if it's in the right place, like on the very edge of town or something, might end up sectioning that off. So you don't want it to be unsuitable for building.
Sure, I understand that.
You'd
have to reevaluate it. Yeah, and so you're not stuck with it for life. And
you know, I guess the verbiage, you know, that the auditor would allow to be removed there is another thing. All I'm saying is that we have to consider, unless somebody has a statement on there that it's not a buildable lot, we have to consider.
Why couldn't you just state on there that before it can be built on, it has to show satisfactory profile? Yeah. That would do the same thing.
Because once it's an unbuildable lot, can you remove that?
I don't know. That's up to the auditor.
It's going to have to show satisfactory profile anyhow.
No, you can change permanently.
You can or you cannot. See, that's what
I'm still trying to figure out what the problem is. The guy's got a backhoe digging right there.
How much does it cost?
With going right next door and digging another hole.
Well, the problem on this is the cropping on those on the lot. If you got a valuable crop in both those, and this is an actual situation I'm speaking of here, and you wouldn't want a backhoe out there digging in that. And so if you just you can't give a building permit until satisfactory profile.
I can't answer that. It would be up to what the building department would accept or wouldn't accept, or the planning department.
Well, what we're looking at is here, we're not looking at state law, we're looking at interpretation on this, Bruce, really. State law goes so far, but on this particular instance, I mean, we're looking at interpretation of law.
Without a statement saying that it's not a buildable lot on there, we have to consider it as buildable lot. And we have to make sure that the time of initial platting, because that is a lot in the plat, that it meets the requirements for sewage system.
And you could put that until it showed satisfactory profile, you couldn't build on it. And it wouldn't be buildable until it showed satisfactory profile. That way, it's not a condemned lot down the road.
Well,
Think about it.
yeah, see, the thing used to say, the old statement used to say it's an ag lot only.
Okay, that would be
But no, but that's still, back to Sue's scenario, you're still stuck with a statement on there.
Okay, you would apply for a new short plat.
And change the status of the land.
That's
Because
what we've done before.
these other two lots are going to be sold, then, and I'm assuming,
So your issue here is the remaining large acreage, not the smaller lots that are being segged off.
No,
Or
because
is
if
it?
they're
I
being-
think-
No, the issue of what we're talking about is the remaining lot.
yeah.
The
it's
issue
ag-
initially was
farm
the extra
ground.
cost, yeah.
The farm ground,
Because regardless, in your scenario, you have a 3-lot short plat. there.
right. And
Yeah.
we have no objection to this, but it's
The large part that isn't even
the
being
part
planned to
that-
build on.
we don't plan on building. Now, having said that, if they do plan to build on it, then that big section would have to be replatted.
Why though?
Because we can probably do more than one lot. We'd probably do 3 or 4.
At least you have to profile it anyhow, but you're gonna have to profile it no matter what.
Well, in theory, you're right there.
Yeah. It's gonna have to profile no matter what you do. What we're talking about is the time factor.
Now, have you talked to Jared about this?
No, because we thought it was you that we needed to talk to.
Well,
I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
trying
if
to
you're
get an
saying the building
understanding
department, it
myself.
depends on what the building
We've talked,
department.
You
we've
did-
talked to Jared about the cost on this
You
thing.
did talk to Jared. He went to the health district and came back and told you that it had been explained to him. It was nothing
Yeah,
that could be-
no, this is correct. We've talked to Jared about the cost, and we've wondered about the cost, where we have to get it both times, both at the time we plat it and both at the time of building.
Was that the Peggy, the Sturtevant short plat that we discussed?
I wasn't here when I
Okay.
missed that day.
Peggy and
now, keep in mind though,
Richard.
you just said so they don't have to come back out again and dig the test holes.
No, what I'm saying is, so that once they have short platted it, if they have to profile it then, our question was, and they had to pay the cost for it, why did they have to profile it again?
And they don't. If in fact that test hole was initially placed where, let's say we'll use your large piece, your farm piece. If the test hole, if they wanted to put a sewage system at some date, and they put it in the vicinity of where that test hole was, we probably wouldn't have them dig any more test holes. The redigging of test holes comes about if in fact they want to put something in a different location where it was initially planned for, or if in fact there is no soil data for that to begin with.
But you were saying the lot size was determined by the
At a
profile.
plat. At a plat, yes.
Yes.
But we'll say that you had a lot here that was 2 acres and the sewage system failed, okay? If we came out, if their test hole that we looked at was here, and they wanted to put their sewage system 2 acres away from there for one reason or another, if we were concerned about inconsistent soils, we would have them dig another test hole there before they repaired that failure.
But, just on a 2-acre lot, just for sake of argument and nothing else, on a 2-acre lot, a person can put your drain field anywhere. You can run your drain field anywhere and just put your line leading to it. Because it's not large enough, you're going to have a drain field that's going to have some distance to it anyhow. You could put your drain field out over to make sure you had it there.
You're confusing
Even though you
me.
put your house, say you would put your house back here.
Right.
You could put your drain field way out here.
If you found suitable soils and you could get the sewage
To
to it.
begin with. Say
Yeah.
you dug your profile out here to begin with and you put your house back here, you can still bring your drain field out here and have satisfactory.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. If the test hole that we looked at before, initially, was in the vicinity where you wanted to put your system, probably wouldn't have to have another test hole. But if you're 500 feet away or 1,000 feet away, that's a different issue.
On a 2-acre lot.
Well, you're not going to get 1,000 feet away in a 2-acre lot. But yes, on a 2-acre lot, if you're 400 or 500 feet away, you may have to dig another hole if, in fact, you got problem soils in that
You've
area.
given a little bit on this, Bruce. You've given just a little. You're trying to compromise a little bit on it, and I think there's room for compromise in this issue.
I think that we can sit down with Jared and see what he will accept on there for the large deal, but you have to consider that we're reviewing any land subdivision, any segregation of land, as treating it as a building lot unless it's so designated as not a building lot. So we have to review all lots that are going to be considered building lots.
And I think it's a mistake to treat that third lot, that's the balance of the farm, with the not acceptable for building lot, if you don't have the profile done.
Maybe. I can argue either way with you on it. I understand what you're saying, and I don't dispute that.
Let's stop right there.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
Well, let me tell you one other thing. I mean, I don't want you to think that we're gouging the consumer, because
the fact that you're getting a commission on this makes no difference, doesn't it? Is that right?
I've got my over 30, and I've got to build up the retirement here,
Well, that's
we could require, basically the regulations allow us to require as many test holes as we want. And we could also require them to go to a soil scientist and have sieve tests done, which is going to cost them $500 to $1,500 a pop.
Now
No,
we
we
made
wouldn't.
him mad. He probably will.
We try to be reasonable in this whole thing. In fact, we haven't even raised our septic tank permit fees in years. That doesn't mean it won't happen.
What's it cost?
It's $360, I think, for a conventional system. You can go up to Yakima, it costs you, I think, $850.
Wow.
We try to hold the costs.
Don't
And
build in Yakima.
as you know, when we go to public hearing on fees, I'm dead set against raising any kind of fees, because it just makes our job that much more difficult, because we have to argue with the person about why he can't put a sewage system in bedrock. But then to argue with him about fees is another issue, too. One thing I might point out is that much of the land we're seeing developed now is being developed now because it was too crappy to be developed a long time ago. And there's a lot of that in Franklin County.
But not necessarily Cleachy, though.
You didn't have to say that.
No, it's bedrock, it's groundwater.
You're
but
hitting, well, I can see where you hit the groundwater, but the bedrock and Cleachy, I'm wondering about.
we have lots of caliche in Franklin County.
Well, I know that.
Sewage systems cannot go on top of caliche.
Oh, God, I understand that, yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why we use the test holes to see how deep the caliche is, so that if we can penetrate that and put the sewage system below the caliche, we will do that.
And I wouldn't even argue that issue. All I'm talking about is your process, Bruce.
I understand. But I hope you can understand, too, that our process is we're looking at building lots, all lots being considered as building. Now, if there's some way that it comes into us that it's not a building lot, fine.
But I think you need to reevaluate the way you're looking at it, because you guys are standing hard and fast on something that you shouldn't have to do.
But I don't have the latitude, though, Frank.
Well, first you said, but one time you said it depends on what your building department will accept. Talk to your building department.
Well,
Well, he said building, though.
Well,
Yeah,
it's building.
first.
Okay, planning is the issue, not
Okay,
building, because the
okay.
planning department are the ones that have the absolute
Yeah.
authority. That.
Okay.
I mean, if the planning department will accept a statement on the that it's an ag lot or something like that,
Mhm.
fine. But I don't think Jared will, because I think there's.
Jared will accept whatever necessary.
Yeah, I know he would. He values his job more than I do. No.
Now,
I'm
are
a
you
given-
saying that you value his job, or he values his job more,
More
than
than
you
you?
value his job, or your job?
Whatever works out the best for me.
He's in a position where he can say, take this job, Anna.
I am, but I like what I do, and I couldn't afford to do anything
Yeah,
else.
because you're out there taking pains those poor farmers that don't want to have to do all that. It's a feeling of power. Face it.
You know, I will admit we probably have had in the past overzealous employees, but who hasn't? And we try to work with that.
Let me tell you, this gal, and
She's not there. She's not in Franklin County anymore.
That was a blessing when she left. I want to tell you. She put the fear of God in people out here on many things.
Well, I put her up to that. I told her you always want to put people on the defensive.
God, she had them there. I want to tell you.
No, that particular issue is resolved. But we try to be as fair as we can. I mean, we try to explain things to people so that they understand. And they may not accept it, but we want them to understand why we're doing what we do.
Even though it's
Usually people are
unreasonable.
pretty reasonable if they can.
No matter how unreasonable it is, you try to explain why you're being that unreasonable. Is what you're
Exactly.
saying.
I suppose there's other scenarios I could get you about the guy that wants that 150 acres there for a circle, but decides he wants to put a shop right in the middle of it, and that is a lot for septic tanks. Then,
Why would you do that?
oh, it happens all the time. People want a little maintenance building or something, or off to the side, or maybe not. Maybe
Center of a circle.
Well, this. The circle is really high up off the ground.
Yeah, you have to have all of this.
But we'll have people that'll take off part of their circle and just on a little corner of it want to put a shop or something.
Oh,
on.
that's common.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But when do we? Then we have to argue with the guy.
Okay, then our building department wouldn't allow a building permit until the health department signed off on it.
I would hope so.
Well, they wouldn't,
absolutely.
because
That's
it
our
comes
process.
before us all the time. And it's always they get a health department sign off
But
first.
by the same token, we wouldn't want to say that the rest of that place was not fit for building lots.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand completely. I wouldn't want a statement on my property.
You
But then
feel
I
our
wouldn't
pain?
mind. I wouldn't mind spending the extra $30 to have the test hole dug right there too.
But if you got a value, what I'm saying is, a lot of times when that happens, or more, you've got a valuable crop out there and you can't do it.
Yeah, I understand that, and I agree with you totally, Frank. I might say, though, that if in fact you had, this is a square here, okay, kind of a square.
It looks like a rectangle.
If you had a little lot here and a little lot here, okay, if in fact, well, let's do this differently. If you had a lot here and a lot here, okay,
Oh, well, that's different.
and you had this all encircled in here, if in fact we could get a test hole as close to this circle as possible, and if these soils were the same, we probably wouldn't have a test hole in there. It's when we have different soils throughout. If this was all fine sandy loam here and here, we would probably assume that it was here too.
But throughout the basin, you're going to find a variation of soils every 100 feet.
Exactly, and I'm
Every
glad
100
you
feet.
said that,
Oh,
because you put your own nail into the coffin right there.
Well, I haven't changed my position on
I
my
know.
argument on that profile.
I know it, and you probably never will.
Well,
it sounds like the simplest solution is to have Jared put for ag use only.
no, you don't want for that on there. You don't. What you want to say is, if you're going to put a
Yeah.
lot here, profile it. You cannot issue a building permit until it is properly
No building
profiled.
permit to be issued.
And that answers the problem. Then it will have to.
Well,
be
you would
profiled.
have to include other things in the statement, like it doesn't. It's not guaranteed to meet the minimum lot size or anything
yeah,
like that.
There's
Yeah.
no problem with that.
But then that's-
There's no problem with that.
But it sounds like we need to come up with language.
And this would be only on the short plats that
Yeah.
leave a large body of land for farming.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like, I can
with
meet
Jared,
with Jared
would
and
ya?
we can discuss this thing, and then we can discuss it with you again, if you'd
Okay.
like.
Please.
Yeah.
Because adding the other language, just so you don't kill that land out here, and you're saying that it'll never be able to.
But it's an asparagus anyway, isn't it? Isn't asparagus dead now anyway?
Sprague's about done anyhow.
Yeah, yeah.
I was talking about a valuable.
Okay. Will that suffice? I mean.
Yeah, I think that would be a good
okay,
idea.
Okay. Now, if you still want to address this issue at the board meeting, you feel free to do so. If not, you can notify our Richland office that it's on hold or whatever at this particular time. I don't really care.
I think it would be on hold. Would you say, Madam Chair?
Okay, well then it would be up to you guys, since you wrote the letter to notify our Richland office and tell them that if you'd like. Okay?
All right.
Because I don't want people to think that I crossed it off because I'm biased against you or for you people.
Yeah.
Against is a term that you should be using. Be appropriate, I would
Well,
say.
thank you for your.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
I understand it. I understand the issue. To me, the economics of it is really not that as substantial as some people think it is. But
Well, it's not the $30. That's a factor because it is a tax and people are
it's
against
a
taxes.
fee, not a tax.
I know, and it's
We
still
don't
taxed.
charge it, do we?
No, we just charge a septic tank permit application. It's
And-
up to the
and
backhoe
it's the
operator that
backhoe
charges the
operator.
fee.
You pay the backhoe operator.
No,
But
or the homeowner,
the
pays, or
homeowner,
property.
but it's still something he has to pay. So any way you look at it, it's
Then it's not just $30.
Nobody rides for free anymore, though. What's he going to make out of that, though, by second that off?
that has nothing to do.
Yeah,
with it.
exactly.
No, that's right. You know, if a guy makes $1 million, then he should pay more.
But he
That's
had
not
nothing.
necessarily true.
He had nothing before, and he's going to have something now. He should be expected to pay the costs associated with that, though, don't you think?
Costs
Well, he will be.
associated, but we're just making a point that we don't think that
Are
should
you on
be
Frank's side
eligible.
today?
Yeah.
No, I get that.
I am.
And that's rare. That's rare.
I know. On what other issue? Doctor will not be here next Wednesday. I don't know if he's called yet, but he wanted to know if there's anything you wanted to ask me in his place. Or are you through with me?
I'm through with you.
We're through with you.
Well, next Wednesday, were you going to be scheduled to come in and visit with us?
No,
And
because he and
instead-
I are both at the same meeting. It's our audit findings.
Then
being
why are
done
you
next week.
asking if there's?
Well, I mean,
oh,
if there's
you mean
something
for
you
now.
want to know today, I mean, how much is, what's a hen weigh? And I would say
Or a
a
puppy.
pound and a half or something like that.
We know what a puppy weighs at 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Were there any other issues? Okay.
So if you can work with Jared.
I'll discuss this issue with
Mary,
Jared.
would you write a little,
Notification of the original office.
that we'd met with Bruce and at this time,
As unsatisfactory as it was, we met with him and
at
take that
this
up
time, we
with him.
don't.
You know, it's very
need to
hard
put
to
on
please
the
everybody
agenda
all of the time.
for the
So I
full
make a
board.
conscious effort to please nobody most of the time. Okay.
Oh, Bruce, that is not true.
Okay.
You please me a lot of the time.
Thank you, Neva.
Oh, same here.
Oh, thank you, Sue. But Frank, he's.
I don't want to be that generous.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, Bruce and I served on some committees together statewide, and we battled.
You know, I've got to tell you, Neva, I was testifying last week at the State Board of Health meeting,
Were you?
and I charged them with being favoring economics over public health, because there's this deal with the shellfish contamination over there,
Oh, boy,
and what they want to do with sewage systems. They want to, and I've discussed this at our board meeting, the operation and maintenance requirements they want on a statewide level, and I went over there to testify against that, and I told them that we don't have the same problems in Eastern Washington. We don't need to create a new industry to get septic tank pumpers and maintenance people rich off old people's money. And I told them that I thought that it was while there was an issue in Hood Canal, it was economic, not public health, because they were using nitrates as an issue. And, you know, we have all the nitrate issues here in Franklin County that you have anywhere, worse than anywhere in the state mostly. But we have had no methemoglobinemia cases as a result of high nitrates, which is a good thing.
Which
Did
you
they
may
hear
say we're
you?
dealing
Did they
with a
hear you?
nitrate issue. We're dealing with a nitrate issue here, though.
Right.
And we have been for years.
Yeah, but it's,
But we still have high levels, but we don't have any signs of illness.
The thing on nitration, I think it's important that the nitrate levels say they're up to this point. The big thing is that they don't go to this point. That they at least level and then start
Right.
down.
That is
and
true.
Then it's hard to measure when you make the first steps.
Right. But
even
putting
so,
your,
there's, health-wise, it hasn't been a detriment to people's health.
which is a key thing. I mean, it's great that the groundwater
Sorry.
management area is doing their thing and they're getting a handle on that and controlling it. But if you have no human illnesses that have been correlated to that, that's a good thing too. So anyway,
Anyhow, Bruce, they gave you all this compliment stuff. I will say this in your behalf.
I just said it 'cause
I don't
Neva
think you're
did.
as bad as everybody else says. So
Bruce,
that's,
I just said it because Neva
I
did.
know it. I know it. Well, I appreciate that, Frank. I know I'm bad, but yeah, people in other places don't speak too highly of me.
Good. What do you have?
I have two more things for you.
You do? Okay.
Thank you for your time. I hope I resolved the issue or at least answered your
We
questions.
do appreciate you coming.
Now that you talked so long, I think that you need to pick up my granddaughter at Bible school for me.
You'll be glad to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
That's okay.
But my seatbelts don't work in the car.
Okay. Well, then you can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't let you.
Goodbye, one and all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And the reunion that he's at, and he's hoping for Wednesday or Thursday. And my question is, which would you prefer?
Oh, how about Friday? Will he be gone Friday? What the heck does he think? And then he'll want off for hunting.
That's not this Friday, it's next Friday.
Next.
Next Wednesday and Thursday.
Well, this Friday, could he, or can we still even
available
consider
Friday?
it? Oh, Frank's gone Friday?
No, I'm still being worked in. I've got,
There's Friday? Yeah.
Friday morning I'm committed for
I
sure.
thought you were done.
Well, I penciled 2 more
He's
things
gone
in.
Friday and Monday. Okay,
Hey.
thanks. Bye.
They're
In a
quick.
hurry.
They're quick.
Okay.
So is Wednesday,
He's gone Friday and Monday, so Wednesday at noon or Wednesday at 1?
what?
Wednesday at noon, let's,
At noon, okay.
Yeah, let's go
and
there.
then we're gonna order Chinese.
Eva wants to have a Chinese party.
Chinese
Gotta
party.
be over a lunch
Eva, I
hour.
want to thank you in advance for taking care of us here
Yeah, thanks, Eva.
on the Chinese.
Oh,
Well, you're-
it was her suggestion to eat through.
She
or
said
work
you're
through lunch.
paying.
Pardon?
She said you're paying with your $60 check.
Pat, I
that
didn't
you're
ask
giving back.
anything. I didn't ask any comments from the gallery here. I want to
Who
tell
do you
you.
want me to have you explain that to you? The item that you took off this morning's agenda?
Oh, on
Well, I
item
don't
number
know. I mean, if the attorney
two. The attorney said they advised him to not sign it, and that's why.
So
we
there
didn't.
must be a problem,
Okay.
or a perceived problem.
Do you want me to ask the attorney to call
That would be a
you?
good idea.
Yes, we'd like the comments from the attorney.
But not before lunch.
Okay. And this is your last chance on PILT stuff. We just got another thing, and I don't know if you responded with a sentence on what you're using
I
PILT
thought
money for. or
Oh,
what?
we did that.
Okay, we did.
Didn't we do that? I thought I saw
I
a
don't
thing that was sent
recall.
back.
we just use our PILT funds for general revenue
I don't recall doing anything with this deal we
in
request.
Franklin County. We
No,
have
there
a-
was no deal.
And the
It goes
schools
into
do,
our-
and the schools share of the money the schools use for schools. What is today the last day?
Sue, what they were asking, the one I saw was to us to respond to how we spent our money in our county and how it was going to affect us, and we just put it in the general fund. It just
Yeah.
goes to the county programs.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was a special thing, looking at the backup that she has there.
Well, different entities earmarked what they
Yeah,
spent
they
it on.
should be asking other entities in our county then.
But they're also asking Franklin County,
Yeah, okay, we put it in our general fund.
and that's all.
So,
But just goes in the general
we
fund.
don't. But it comes through us. It all comes through us, and I don't want them to think we're not sharing it with our schools because they know better and others.
Do you want to wait till after you pick up your granddaughter and come back?
No, tell them,
Okay,
please.
sure.
Just tell them it goes to general. Franklin County's portion goes in Franklin County's general fund.
And do you have any other comments on that attached page?
No.
Okay, what do you got?
Okay, at the track meeting the other night, it was brought up, we were talking about that activity fair, to the future fair or the Grand Ole Fourth. And, basically it was determined that, Gary's biggest concern was that track was gonna put it on. I said, this is not a track thing, it's a county thing. And he said that the city's responsible for the Grand Ole Fourth now, and if the city and the county is interested in going together and trying to develop this type of activity, then the city would be interested in it. So I'm asking you if you would be interested in pursuing growing this activity, at least for now, with the city for next year.
Do we not have some acknowledgement and suggestion that Kiwanis and some of those folks might be interested, or was that from our point of view?
That from what Ray was telling me is that there's definitely interest with the groups in Franklin.
Because I'm real
Because I
concerned
had
with
some
county
people-
money.
I had some people saying, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard you guys want to do. And I said, well, look, I said, we'll still be part of the Benton Franklin, we'll still contribute to the Benton Franklin affair. But I said, for now, but I said, we're looking in the future. I said, it's a Benton County Fairgrounds.
Well, the whole problem
And it's
is it should have never.
privatized.
The word fair should have never been mentioned. It should be a 4th of July celebration.
Anybody that's I've talked to, I said, we're looking for a revenue source, and we're down that time, we're looking for something to bring in revenue. And number one, it's not going to affect the show out in Connell, because they're 2.5 months down the road, and it's 6 weeks after, or excuse me, prior to the Benton Fair, maybe 7 weeks prior. And if we have kids bring in animals, they can stage them that way. You know, it doesn't have to be. It depends on when they buy their animal.
And plus the fact, I said, Kiwanis, Elks, Shriners, and then Tessie Walker spoke up and said, well, St. Joe's, barbecued beef and pork, we used to make, my God, they made a lot of money on that. She said, we're not making any money, so we've dropped out. I said, so it isn't a fair, community fair anymore. It's all commercialized. And I said, these people are interested in something.
But I think it's going in.
What is your question? Do you want county funds put in this, or do you want county support?
My question is are you interested in pursuing it at least more with the city to see if it could be a joint?
I think we need to. But we're going to have, but now, folks, if we go into this, they're going to have to be county funds put into it. There's no other way we can do it.
No.
Well, wouldn't it be from our,
where would it
track?
come from?
Kiwanis, all these people that are talking about it want to be involved. Are they just wanting to put a booth up? Is that what we're saying?
Well, yeah, but we'd charge them, and those that would be supportive.
Well, it would be no different than what's happening over at the Benton Franklin situation.
No different
The
what's across the river.
upfront money would be there, provided by the county and the city possibly, and then all the revenues that would come back would then support the event if they happen to profit.
The same process, and I think having the city in there with us would be an awful good thing.
Because they would.
Well, yeah, and the same thing with the city on
If
this.
we went ever go to a fair, I think it'd be great to have the city with us there.
Say that word.
Well, I've made
Anything
it
like a
pretty,
fair.
I've made it pretty clear, even with the reporters, that we're starting this thing out, and I'm not saying that it won't be a fair someday. You know, that way
But right
there's
now
no
we're starting out.
misunderstanding as
Yeah.
to where the direction's heading. It might be, it might not be.
I've had 2 calls
Maybe.
in opposition.
Maybe
They were
not.
strong against it. One is Ernie Boston, the other is Dick Hart. And I told them both the same thing. I said, talk to the other commissioners on it and express your feelings. Pardon?
People don't like change at all.
Okay, I
And-
got one other question. I know you're in a hurry,
Okay.
Steve, so
But Fred, before we leave this, we need to look at a budget on this thing.
Yeah, we'd have to,
We
before
need-
we could really commit, we'd have
Yeah.
to see what that budget was.
well, you know, now with the city getting involved, I couldn't create a budget until we got a chance to talk
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah.
Well, we could. We could have something with what we would each have to come up with in an overall budget. And you
Well,
could
so
have-
what he's saying is that you have to talk to the city, which is.
We got to find out what it is they have going, how we can combine our efforts and come up with.
And if they have a definite amount of money that they're saying this is all we would put towards it.
I can tell you right now, the budget that we've looked at, just preliminary, is around $400,000, and that's just for a 3-day event, and that's just what we.
But in our promotion to the city, I think we need to have something in mind. Because when you're talking to Gary and about joining with them in the Grand Ole Fourth, that would be a great idea.
I see what you're saying. You
But
want
see,
us
on
to
the Grand Ole Fourth,
say
people
that
don't pay to get
activities-
into it.
Okay, well, I'll work a little bit more on that before I get down with it, but I'll talk to the city and tell them we're interested in it.
Okay, RV park.
The next one's the RV park. Basically, in conversations I had with Ray out there not yesterday, but last week, we were trying to figure out how we could come up with that $36,000, because my attitude was that if the RV park is not being managed properly and we're not getting the revenues in there, it sits there empty, why would the county give him $36,000? And in order for him to get the $36,000, in order for his budget deficits to be brought in line, I said we need 24 people out there for the remaining 4 months of the year. The discussion prior was 10. Frank, you know, I told Ray, get 24 people out there, let's go to the end of the month, let's take care of the deficits. Frank has some concern about that, so I wanted to bring it back up as far as what the board
You mean
wants.
you need 24 people working out there, or
Permanent.
24
Permanent.
people using it?
24
Permanent
stalls
park.
rented for 4
Okay.
months. For
I might
permanent-
rent one, I gotta go somewhere. Anybody got a motorhome I can park out there, or a camper, or a tent?
Is
I gotta-
that is
Oh, that's not, it won't work, it won't work. Forget
King
it.
City.
I know, I looked there, do you know what they want for a room? They want $46 a night, and budget in wants 42, including tax, so budget in is.
I got a camper.
It's gonna be, do you?
I'll rent it cheap.
Will you?
Yeah.
I'm serious now. I do want to
You wouldn't
rent a
wanna
camper.
live in my
Because I have friends, all I'm going to do is sleep in it. I'll still have to come here to work and go home to shower. So, go to that other place.
I hope
to
you have your
shop.
sequence right on that showering suit.
But
Shower
anyway, to
first,
the
then
24, do you, that was just, in a panic trying
Well, I
to
think
make money.
till
so.
just till the end of the year, can we do it? What kind of,
Well, it all depends on the ad that you run.
Is 24 a day averaged out? So that if it's totally full for 4 days.
Well, it's $375 a month, and you need 24 in there in order to pick up the cost of the operations and the RV park management.
Yeah.
We're looking at it, but if you go to.
I personally hate to see it lock that up.
Well, then maybe what I should do is just let Ray, like I talked about earlier, come back with what he plans to do to salvage the budget, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah.
So I'll tell him to hold off on that 24 ad. Okay.
Can I
Wait.
have a motion on this minutes
Okay.
for June 28th?
I move approval of the minutes for June 28th.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Have you guys ever had jalapeno jam?
Yes.
Jelly.
Jelly?
Yeah.
And you put it on cracker
Crackers?
with cream cheese, and man, that's
I got the recipe from WC and made it.
God, I bet